What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy, back at the hometown commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, show where we brew my version 1.0 deck list of commander in front of us on my quest to brew the magic world. As always, the deck list is going to be down in the description for you below, as well as I would appreciate any way you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, check out the links in the description, do all that good stuff. Today we are finishing out, I believe, the one of the last couple flip planeswalkers we have to talk about the set, and this one I think of the five has me the most excited. So I'm excited to talk about today. We're talking about Sorin of House Markov, and the planeswalker have Sorin, Ravenous, and Neonate. So in the front we have a 2-mana 1/4 human noble with lifelink and extort. So whenever we cast a spell, we can pay white or a black. If we do, each opponent loses a life, and we gain that much life. And then the beginning of our post-combat main phase, if we gain 3 or more life this turn, we can flip Sorin. Sorin flips into Sorin, Ravenous, Neonate, 3 loyalty planeswalker with extorts. There's actually a great ability to talk about that we'll always have, hopefully laying around, that we can use. +2 to make a food, -1 to deal damage equal to the amount of life we gain this turn to target. That's a great ability we're going to talk about. And then -6, gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Put a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent other than that creature or Sorin. I think a lot of what makes Sorin a good commander exists on the backside. We can get the food, which isn't a bad thing. It can gain us 3 life. That's what we need to do. But I think what makes Sorin really good are the other 3. Extort, allowing us to basically pay a mana and gain 3 life anytime we cast a spell, as long as all 3 of our opponents there. The -1, which at the end of a big turn could lead to a bunch of damage to our opponent. And then the -6, just taking our opponent's things and putting lifelink on them isn't a bad idea either, especially if we can take the right things or steal the right things at the right times. What I think makes Sorin a good deck is there's so much great black-white life gain stuff, and we're going to talk about a lot of that, both how we're going to gain life and how we're going to pay off gaining the life. But the truth is, you're going to see a lot of what you'd already expect from a lot of vampire decks and a lot of life gain decks here. We just kind of get to smash them together and take real advantage of it here. But the goal is get Sorin flipped over and take advantage of it. Well, first let's talk about life gain. How are we going to gain life? Well, what I like the most about Sorin here specifically is we have 2 other Sorins that both really help us with what we're trying to do. Sorin, Solemn Visitor, on its +1 lets all creatures we control get +1/+0 and lifelink. And I think that's a really important ability because as we go wide with some of our other abilities and effects, this is going to allow us to get a bunch of life in one turn to set up that -1 on our other Sorin. And Sorin's Vengeful Bloodlord, basically gives all of our creatures in Planeswalker lifelink as long as it's our turn. The +2 can deal the damage and gain us some life. The -X can reanimate something. We then pair this with the other part of Sorin, Solemn Visitor, making a vampire token or forcing everybody to sack on each opponent's turn. But what I like here about both of these Sorins specifically is they're going to give all of our creatures lifelink and allow them to gain us a ton of life to then set up other abilities we'll talk about, or Sorin's -1. Daxos is just going to gain us a life whenever a creature comes in or dies, and that could be very helpful with how many things we're looking to do in the deck. Alasil Core gains us a life whenever a creature comes in, and each opponent loses a life whenever one of our creatures dies. That works great. We do have a smaller kind of aristocrat sub-theme in the deck. Not as big as our life gain, but it is there. Guide of Souls from Modern Horizons 3 gets us a life and an energy whenever a creature comes in, and we can pay 3 energy to put 2 +1/+1 counters and a flying counter on target attacking creature, and it becomes an angel. Not a bad ability, especially when we have creatures we really want to get in for good damage with. Soul Warden joins Soul's Attendant and Suture Priest in gaining us more life whenever a creature comes in under our control. Suture Priest also gives us the option to have an opponent lose a life whenever a creature comes under their control as well, which can be kind of helpful. And then Vispoka Guildmage is kind of interesting. For 3 mana, we can give a creature lifelink till a turn. This could be really useful depending on what we have laying around or how big maybe our creature grows to. But the other part of that's nice about Vispoka Guildmage is its second ability, which says whenever we gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. This can be paired with a lot of things to be a combo or just drain our opponents for a bunch of life. The cool part and the combo that I was looking at with Vispoka Guildmage is the same as a combo we'll talk about later in this video, which is if we gave Sorin, our commander, the back side of it lifelink, and we dome somebody for the amount of life we gain this turn, with Vispoka or Guildmage out, we could potentially just start dealing a ton of damage, or potentially knock everybody out at once, depending on how much life that was and what's going on. So this just goes to show you that Vispoka Guildmage is kind of another great key combo piece in the deck if we could see it and get it protected. Okay, how are we going to pay off our life gain? Well, we have things like Amalia. Whenever we gain life, it explores, and then when she gets to exactly 20 power, destroy all other creatures. This could be really great since all of our key Sorins are planeswalkers on the backside, so they're going to be unaffected by this. And Amalia could just effectively wipe the board and be a big attacker that we could then use to hit into our opponents if we want to go that route. Otherwise, the exploring will just help us dig through our deck and get access to new things. Archangel of Thune, every time we gain life, puts a counter on each creature we control. This is going to get out of hand very quickly, depending on how many creatures we have. And she has lifelink herself, which just makes it even better. Heliod Suncrowned, whenever we gain life, put a counter on target creature or enchantment we control, and for 2 mana we can give another creature lifelink. Again, could give potentially a big attacker or a big creature lifelink, gain a bunch of life, and set up that Sorin -1 to be even better. Karlov of Ghost Council seems like a great card for this deck. Whenever you gain life, but you put 2+1/+1 counters on it, and you can pay 2 mana and remove 6+1/+1 counters to exile target creature. That is an instant speed ability, and that can be very helpful, especially when we have lots of ways to gain life. Set that up and have it basically as repeatable removal for our opponent's things. Resplendent Angel, beginning of each end step. If we gain 5 or more life this turn, we make an angel with flying and vigilance, and for 6 mana we can give it +2/+2 and lifelink. Again, just a great way to take advantage of what should eventually be more than 5 life we can make each turn, and giving us angels for blockers and overall just take over the board. Veto is another one of these cards that pairs really well with our life gain. Whenever we gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So not as good as that Vispoka where everybody loses that much life, but Veto can be really helpful to start taking down a key opponent or really spreading life around as we gain that life and start knocking it off our opponents bit by bit. Voice of the Blessed is one of those creatures we want to see early if possible, as every time we gain life, we put a counter on it. At 4 counters, it becomes with vigilance and flying, and with 10 counters, it gets indestructible, making it a brutal thing to deal with. This is a great source of giving something, giving it life like if we can, because it means we're just going to keep getting more and more life. Angelic Accord, very similar ability to that Resplendent Angel. Beginning each end step, if we've gained 4 more life this turn, create a 4/4 angel. This works great with any of the Soul Sisters. If our opponents are putting a ton of creatures down, it means we're going to be getting angels every turn if possible. Cleric classes, if you would gain 1 or more life, instead you gain that much +1. Level 2 will give us that Heliod effect to put counters on creatures whenever we gain life. And then the 3rd level can reanimate a creature and gain life equal to its toughness, which can be a key thing to get back a creature maybe we need to get back. So we talked about how to gain life. We talked about ways to pay off the life. Well, let's talk about the game enders. I think the obvious combo that you expect out of a deck like this is going to be Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond. Exquisite Blood says whenever opponent loses life, you gain that much life, and Sanguine Bond says whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Of course, these will create a loop that you can continue to do over and over again to knock all of our opponents out of the game. The great part is that Exquisite Blood is going to pair with Veto and that Vispoka Guildmage to be other ways to end, in the game with that combo. The other one is just Test of Endurance, an enchantment that says at the beginning of our upkeep, if we have 50 or more life, we win the game. Force our opponents to take that enchantment out. Otherwise, we can get in that way. Again, lots of life gain, paying off the life gain, and trying to take advantage of the life gain by either draining our opponents out or just using how much life we have to really hurt our opponents. Well, let's get into our play tests. We're going to start off here with a 3-lander with a Johnny's Welcome, a way to gain the life every time a creature comes in. Alendis Hierophant is very similar to the old Alenda, but instead of a creature dying, it's whenever you gain life, you get a counter on it. And then whenever it dies, you make a bunch of vampires with life equal to its power. So a great card. We see the Resplendent Angel. Rotting Blight pieces whenever we gain life, each opponent loses a life. So we've got some good pieces here. I think this is going to be a good hand to show to start. So we'll draw turn 1. The Sorin is darn good, but I don't have another white source at the moment. Well, I guess Sorin is black, so I guess we can just do this. This will set us up for what, Sorin turn 2. I kind of would love the idea to get a Johnny's Welcome down as well, but maybe we'll draw into an untapped white source, and we definitely do not. So I like the idea of just getting this Marsh down and getting Sorin down. We can't really gain life anyway with Sorin this turn, but now we could start setting up, extort and things like that. And the good thing to remember about extort is we want to use it as much as possible, if possible, because if you think about it, all we have to do is extort one spell with Sorin out and it's going to flip, right? Our opponents, we would gain 3 life because our opponents lost 1 life, and then bam, Sorin's going to flip. So we don't even need necessarily Sorin to deal damage in combat with its lifelink. We can just extort a spell, right? And gain it that way. So there's a lot of ways we could do this. We have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. I like the idea of trying to get... multiple things down this turn. We don't have the double white for Resplendent Angel, but we could get like Blight Priest and a Johnny's Welcome down. So put a Johnny's Welcome down first. I think I'd be content with extorting it to, gain 3 and everybody lose 1. And then Blight Priest comes in, we'd gain a life off the Johnny's Welcome. Everybody would lose a life because I'm running Blight Priest. And then Sorin would go ahead and flip over. Right. After combat. We don't have anything, obviously, we want to do this turn, so I would, we could dome somebody for 4, yeah, but I'd kind of rather just make the food, work Sorin up towards ultimate, just in case we need to grab something from somebody, and just wait to see what potentially we can do next turn. This turn we draw Ocelot Pride, a great card that's going to be able to be triggering every turn. We just need to start making tokens, and then Ocelot Pride's going to get even better. Still missing that double white for Resplendent Angel. So we could... Ocelot Pride, and it's going to give us a cat no matter what. But we wouldn't be able to play anything else. Or we could Hierophant and start getting counters on it and find a way to maybe sacrifice it later. Ocelot Pride doesn't even necessarily need to be in the turn it comes in to double those tokens. So I'd say let's get the Hierophant down. This is going to gain a life. Everybody loses a life. It will be a life when it's on the battlefield, right? Because it's when it ETBs, so it is going to get a counter. So that's 1 life so far this turn. 3 mana, so we've still got 3 mana left. Again, I don't at the moment, but we could just go ahead and extort it, right? Hierophant wouldn't see that trigger, but I think it'd be well worth the 3 life to gain, right? As each of our opponent loses a life. Now we're up to 4. The question is, do we want to dome anything for 4? I don't know. I kind of like the idea here is if we don't really have anything to do, just to make another food. And then we could always just sack a food, maybe on one of our opponent's turns with our leftover mana to gain some life, to stack the Hierophant up and drain everybody for 1. Again, just keep padding our own life total and kind of moving forward. Let's say we do that, sack a food on somebody else's turn, 2 more life here, or 1 more trigger there, everybody loses a life because of the Bright Priest. Now we come back, Bajuka Bog in tapped. Angelic Accord would be great because... Let's think about this. On cast, we would get the extort trigger, and that would be 3 life, and it'd be pretty darn easy to get the 4th, right? The problem is we're still stuck on that 1 white mana. I don't mind the idea of trying to maybe draw off Lochthwain here to see if we can hit another land. If I tapped these 3 in Lochthwain, I'd be 1 mana off of the Accord, but I could still play Ocelots. Maybe that's what I think here. Tap those 3 in the Lochthwain to draw. We lose 4 life, and we hit an Arcane Signet, so we could still tap the Soul Ring for an Arcane Signet, and we'd still have 2 mana to play Ocelot Pride. Of course, we're 1 mana off the Angelic Accord, but that's okay now that I think about it, because now we have the second white source. Life for Ocelot Pride coming in, so Hierophant gets another counter there. And then, so we're up to what? And we might as well extort it, right? I guess with the extra mana we have spare on that. So we're at what? 3, 4, 5 or 6 life. Maybe we dome somebody with Sorin, this turn instead of making a food. At the end step, we go ahead and make a cat, right? Because we gain life this turn. And then we have the city's blessing, so I believe we just make another cat. Which ain't too bad. Now we're starting to have some extra spare bodies in the ground. But again, all we need to do is start getting any way to give our creatures lifelink or get these guys down, we're going to be, pure golden. Tainted Field for turn ain't too bad. Let's see. Angelic Accord, 2/3/4, extort it, so that's going to gain us 3 life. Hierophant gets another counter. Resplendent Angel, extort it, so that's 6 life to gain to this turn. Another counter for Hierophant. Let's think about this. Gain a life for the ETB, right? And then everybody's lost, I believe, 3 so far this turn. With Blight Priest. And we're going to get a token here at the end of turn. We're going to get a token for the Accord at the end of turn. So we would just try to swing, Hierophant and hit somebody for some damage, dome somebody for 8 or 9 this turn, go to end step, make a couple angels. Ocelot Pride makes a couple more angels. And I think you can kind of see where the goal of us trying to go at this point is all we need is one other way to, really push our board forward for more and more fun. But let's get into Playtest 2. Seeing a 3-lander with Ocelot Pride, Vampiric Rites for some draw, Soul's Attendant for some life gain, and Treacherous Greed, which is kind of an interesting card. But let's go turn 1. I mean, obviously we love the idea of getting Ocelot Pride down, but I'd kind of rather try to maybe put 2 things down on turn 2 rather than 1 down right now. Turn 2, we see Alacio Core. My original idea was Ocelot Pride plus Soul's Attendant, but man, I kind of like the idea of Alacio Core as well. But I think that makes sense. Soul's Attendant and Ocelot Pride gain a life off the Attendant at the end of turn. We make a cat because we gain life this turn and another life. Just sets up well, getting our board set up. I guess conversely, we could have gone for Sorin there, but I like the idea of still trying to set up a little bit. Let's see. Turn 3 here, Restless Fortress in tapped. Say we Sorin, gain a life, right? I'd probably go swinging at somebody with Ocelot Pride, first strike and lifelink. I mean, this is turn 3. I would guess at this point we'd have a good attack with Ocelot Pride somewhere. Gain a life. Post-combat main phase, we're only at 2 life, unfortunately, which kind of stinks, but that's okay. We'll just move to end step, get another cat, gain that life, and we're a couple of permanents away from the City's Blessing, but that's okay. This sets us up for a great turn next turn where maybe we can extort something and just get Sorin flipped over. Pathfinder Sorcery and tapped. We've got 3 mana. I like Alacio Core, because we always have the option of Treacherous Greed, but I like the option of Alacio Core. This gains us a life there. We, I guess, might as well extort it, right, when we cast it. It gives us 3 more lives. Sorin's going to flip no matter what, go to combat. If Ocelot Pride has an attack, we can attack, but I feel like at this point we kind of don't even need to. Sorin's just going to flip over, and that's, 4 life this turn? Kind of like the idea of just, again, ticking up 2 loyalty here and making a food, because we're going to get a second food with Ocelot Pride, right? We're going to get another cat, and then we're going to get a cat and a food because we have the City's Blessing, right? So now we're kind of stocking up. 2 more life gained off of Soul's Attendant and 2 gained off of Alacio Core when they come in. So, now we really got that Soul Sisters plan going. All we need is another turn where we can put a few things down and, dome somebody with Sorin. We'll go 1 more turn. Well, Exquisite Blood's certainly going to help. We're unfortunately 1 mana off of it. Sorin could get us a token, which we could double up at the end of turn. Treacherous Greed says that this is additional cost to cast the spell. Sacrifice a creature that dealt damage this turn. Draw 3. Each opponent loses 3 and we gain 3. This wouldn't be a bad idea here to, maybe swing out with all of our cats. Maybe one of them hits and we, Treacherous Greed one of the cats to draw 3, gain 3 if we wanted to. And we could even extort it to gain some extra life. Maybe take like a -6 dome here with Sorin, but... So let's do that. Let's go to combat. We swing with the 4 cats. I think at this point, Ocelot Pride's probably going to get blocked and killed, but that's okay. Let's say we extort this, so we gain 3. We sack one of the, cats that, let's say, got through for damage. Everybody loses 3, we gain 3, and we draw 3. Now, unfortunately, we didn't hit a land, but that's okay. We gain a ton more life, so up to, what, 3 this turn? I think 3 this turn. A creature died, so everybody would lose a life there. And if, let's say, one or more of them died in combat, people are just going to lose some more. I was really hoping to hit a land, but that's okay. We could just get something like a Johnny's Welcome down just to, we use the mana for the extort. End turn, make a cat, make another cat, gain 2. And again, I think all we're needing for is that 5th mana to get something like Exquisite Blood down, and we're probably cooking from here. Well, let me know. What do you think of Sorin down in the comment section below? I like this. I think this is a deck I'm going to try for myself. I had my Carmen list kind of floating around. That was a sacrificey Lifegain deck. I think I like the idea of this a little bit better. It pays off Lifegain in a way that I've kind of wanted it to, and so I think I'm going to give it a shot. But I'd love to know what you think down in the comment section below, and I will catch you guys next time.